back to the meat of your question. Oh, I think FINRA, conduit advocates for retail, aren't doing anything to resolve this. And as Nextbridge can't do a deal without resolution, when do they get involved? Okay, I think Nextbridge is involved. They're involved on a quieter plane than the rest of us. So they're probably talking to their lawyers. They're probably talking to regulators. They probably filed documents with SEC and others saying, hey, shady shit's going on. But I don't know if they can publicly talk about what's going on. Usually there's a gag order when they do stuff like that. Same thing with FINRA. If FINRA could do something, they would have done something before, right? Or maybe I shouldn't say they can do something, but if they were willing to do something, they would have done it before. They never would have entered into this land of the U3 halt if they ever intended to do the right thing. That makes sense? And right now, they're like, oh, crap. They are wishing they had never done what they did because this is becoming the biggest headache they may have ever had as a regulatory body. We're awful. And I say that in a good way. Like, it sucks to have to be on the other end of the phone with you guys. Absolutely. Just terrible. Just sucky, sucky, sucky. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. You know, have you seen some of the TikToks from these folks? And they're like, I work as a phone rep at a brokerage, and I have never had to deal with something like this before. Even when GME and AMC were kicking off, we never had this many phone calls. We've never dealt with anything on the volume of this and on the anger of this at any level before. We are really, 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 really cruel, and it is beautiful. So I want to pat you on the back for your ability to just be absolute dicks and be relentless and to do all the things that are needed to draw attention to this and to get that info out there and make everyone aware of what's going on. So good job. Good job at being relentless assholes. John Doe. HW hypothetical. 6 months ago, MMTLP investors registered 100% with transfer agent. What does the FINRA broker defense claim in the suit today? So you're saying that 6 months ago, 165 million shares got registered with AST, and and what would there be their defense? My thought is they'll be doing what they do now, which is ignore any mention of short shares. Right, Monkey? Just like how you're trying to ignore doing your job of getting the cat off the bed. Yes, it's your job. It's your bed. You can go claim it anytime you want, but you're just too polite. So, I think they do exactly what is happening now, which is when Rosa mentions short positions, they go, la, 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 la. I don't see any short positions. I'm not going to mention it at all. I'm not going to talk about it. And that's where. Since year 206, what are the chances FINRA can actually reinstate those 2 days and the brokers can open them to trading with all the new QSIP numbers? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You get an order from a judge. It says, all right, 5 days from now, you are going to open up trading. FINRA, you notify all the brokers. FINRA has to put out one on their daily list and notification to anyone who's a member saying, all right, these Nextbridge QSIPs, we're going to have to make them all the same number. So you can go to your computer, you type that in, they'll be all the same. And then we open up trading for 2 days, and all of your brokers must close every short position you have on record in your brokerage in those 2 days. Do it. And then they do it. They may go, it's so hard. It isn't. You literally just type in your computer, punch in the number, done. Set a time, notify all those hedge funds and everyone else who's short. You guys are boned. We're going to take all your money. We're going to close these positions. That's it. Done. And they'll pretend like it's hard. They'll be like, it's so hard. It isn't. It isn't hard at all. Do you have a computer terminal? Yes. Can you access the ticker? I can. Can you change the QSIP number? That I can do. Then there you go. Ta-da! You have just done exactly what the court asked you to do. But they're going to pretend like it's really hard. It's not. It's not like they have to, like, push around a bunch of granite rocks and stack them on top of each other in a certain order. And, carve open some virgins for sacrifice. And they literally punch in the ticker, change the QSIP, and they're done. That's it. Turn the trading on for 2 days, turn it off. Ta-da! They can do it just fine. Barry M. I deal with iTrade in Canada and still having a hard time getting MMTLP answers. In your opinion, would you feel safe holding a large investment in the stock the way things are looking? What else can you do? You can't trade it. You can't sell it. It's all you can do. It's like saying, you're stuck with it. I know I just had a baby, but in your opinion, is it safe keeping this baby around? Like, you're stuck with it, man. That's your baby. Whether you want it or not at this point, you got it. So what we're trying to do is trying to figure out if there's any legal means by which we can actually do something about our investment that we paid for. Hain Train. TDA was saying Nextbridge keeps changing the ticker for it. That doesn't make sense to me. Can you make sense to that? TD Ameritrade is like, I think, has lied so often on this they can't keep any of it straight. And they don't have somebody who's really good at gaslighting to, like, really make us go, what? That's weird. I don't remember it being that way. Maybe I was wrong. No, Nextbridge isn't doing a damn thing. Nextbridge, all they did was they took the 165 million shares and they gave it to AST, and then AST gave out whatever shares to their members and then gave the rest to the DTC, and the DTC said, brokers get this. That's all they've done. Nextbridge hasn't done a damn thing after that with the ticker. So TD is full of crap. It could just be that there's some, call center room with a bunch of, like, drooling knuckle draggers who really just could not. They're just making things up as they go along. They're like, whatever. So always ask for a recording and a transcript when you talk to somebody at one of these brokerages. They have to provide a transcript to be ADA compliant, and so ask for a recording, ask for a transcript, so you can see what weirdness they're telling you, and they're going to try and not be liable for any of that weirdness, but they will be. John Doe, it's organized crime people are against. Yeah, this is RICO territory. This is racketeering. This is collusion. This is criminal conspiracy. We've had rumblings for years that organized crime is involved in all of these institutions, and the evidence shows that, yeah. If they are plotting and planning to sell stocks that don't exist and have no intention of ever closing or covering or doing anything they need to do on those things, and they've made a way they never have to realize any of the liability they've taken on, that is, they've organized a crime. That is organized crime right there. And we as a nation need to not only fight this, but put the changes into the system to make it so they can't do it again. We cannot have an economy dependent upon the destruction of American companies. That's not a way to run your economy. What's the best way to make money? Destroy everything. That'll be great for everybody. No, we need to have a legit market designed to grow the economy as a whole, and help society progress and grow with it. Stephanie L., what do you think about David Lauer's take on the settlement dates? Said that shorts couldn't close after the 8th. I've been Dave Lau and I have been DMing each other back and forth. Apparently, he had a phone call with Rosa yesterday, and Rosa's like, I changed his mind. So I've not heard from him since yesterday morning. We're having a lovely debate. I love my debates. But Dave was telling me, he was like, you know, the shorts are screwed because the company went private. And I was like, how are they screwed if they aren't forced to close their positions? And he had said something to the effect of, because I was talking about how we can't get our 1-for-1 because there's too many fake shares out there. And he's like, well, the shorts just have to provide a share. And I said, how? How are they going to provide a share if there's no market for them to go and get the legit share to provide it? If they borrowed 1 million shares from someone and sold them, right? The short's not receiving shares because they don't have a position. So they aren't receiving 1 million shares from Nextbridge to give to whoever they borrowed from, right? Or if they sold naked, if they sold 1 million shares naked and their poor broker had to reach into the accounts of their customers and pull out a real share and put in synthetic to make that clearing happen, right? So the money can transfer. Then the short didn't get any real shares to replace all the accounts of their broker's customers for all the shares that they inadvertently borrowed. So there's no way for them to provide the shares that they need. So without their having a market, there's no way to actually close positions. They can't just magically be like, well, I reached in my pocket, pulled out a real share, and I made good on my deal. They have to buy it from someone. If you don't have a market, they can't buy it from someone. And then I pointed out, I was like, okay, if the concern was for FINRA that any trades made on the 9th of December and the 12th of December wouldn't clear in time for when distribution happened on the 14th, then why has distribution been such a mess for over a month? Right? It's been a month. It's been more than a month since they issued that U3 order, and distribution has not gone well because there's all those synthetics. So if their concern was settlement, then why didn't their order say, okay, trading ends on the 12th. The 14th is going to be the date of record, and the 16th will be when Nextbridge distributes, if that was their concern. But instead, they went, oh my God, and they just stopped trading. And then they left this giant mess in their wake. They could have very easily said, Nextbridge, we're going to wait 2 days. We'll stop trading on the 12th. Date of record will be the 14th after the settlement, and then you can issue on the 16th. You know what Nextbridge would have done? Okay. That's what they would have done. It was gone. Cool. Fine with us. But FINRA instead went, what they really did was they went, oh my God, no one has enough money to close these positions. Stop trading. And that's it. So, you can argue all you want. The whole settlement will be a nightmare. There's a reason why the SEC, Nextbridge, and the original corporate action from FINRA all said any sales made after the 12th, after the 9th, would have been the responsibility of the seller to settle. Which the brokerages were doing broker-to-broker settlement anyway, because that's how the stupid stock started trading. It wasn't going through a clearinghouse. It was being settled by the brokers, broker to broker. So they could easily have settled all those by close on the 14th and gotten everybody whatever Nextbridge share they needed. So I don't buy at all this whole like, oh, how would we settle? Like you always do, dipshit. Like you always do. You just make it happen. That's what you do. As it stands now, no one actually has any real shares because there's too many people claiming ownership of shares. They need to whittle that down. And the only way to whittle that down is through forced closure with an open market. John Doe, brokers sit in the board DTCC. Yes, they do. I mean, they're the foxes around the hen house. That's what it is. Which is the big problem with these self-regulatory organizations is, the government's like, oh, it'll be way too expensive to regulate these things. So we're going to have these nonprofits do it who are run by the guys that are committing the crimes. That's the best way we can regulate the markets. And we'll kind of oversee them a little bit with the SEC. the argument coming from FINRA is that anything we do is in the purview of us regulating the market, therefore you can't hold us responsible for it. But if what you're doing is to enable crime, how are you supposed to be held accountable for you being a part of that crime? Right? There are things they do that are outside the purview of regulation, and it's them putting their thumb on the scale. And that is not the job of a regulator. If they're doing something outside of regulation, but calling it regulation, then they should be able to get sued for that. And that's I think is one of the arguments that Rosa will be making, is that under the purview of their charter from Congress is to regulate the markets, not to put their thumb on the scale and make in someone else's favor. Right, Kat? Right? You just love sitting there all tall and proud, right in the way of everything.